Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. Well, this will be a very quick live. I watched a commentary, Jody Sue, on a tuber's channel talking about Boy H and this Andy situation. Let me start by saying that none of us were there with Chris Madonna and the other participants that sat on the porch last summer when Boy H gave his version of what happened on June 15th. And I find it disturbing that Jody Sue would basically say what? That he is blaming her, Andy, as the drug dealer for Candy and Don. I really didn't want to do this video, but I decided that I should because we're talking about a child. Once again, in a situation where he didn't have any business being in grown folks' business. First of all, when they did the interview, naturally, the video was cut in certain places. So therefore, you don't know what all he said to Chris Madonna and what all he didn't say to Chris, his mother, whomever was there. So my thing is, whatever he said, whatever name he mentioned in relation to Candy is obviously information he got from Candy. And I'm gonna just stand on that. That I believe. Hold on 1 second. Let somebody pass by. That's what he got information from her. This is the reason why nobody had any business talking to Boy H, because this is still an open investigation going into month 7. So whatever information he had pertaining to Candy, who she talked to, didn't talk to, what was going on at 110 Ben Circle, all that information he got either from his mother or from Candy. I don't remember him saying in the first interview, Andy, a whole name, second name, nickname, any of that. We're just not getting information of the said name. Most of us, anyway. And when she was talking, I really couldn't understand the words she was saying. Because, she has a very interesting voice. I don't know if something was in her mouth or what. I don't know. But I'm really just tired of everybody jumping out of clown cars and hats to give information. Because as I said, I'm really confused at where she actually stands in this case. I don't know if she's trying to say that, sorry, this background, kids out here. I don't understand if when she mentioned about the screen, if she was aiding to the narrative of the Wells, and now it seems like there's an issue. I believe with the Wells, I don't know, because you all change every day. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with what's going on. I can't keep up with all the different versions. Pookie, Ray Ray, Bubba has this to say. And then she ended up crying in the interview or this commentary with another YouTuber. I'm just confused at why now it's the issue about the Andy name. We don't know who he was talking about, but many people would assume it's the Andy that lives up there near the Wells. Why would people not assume that? Okay? Why would people not assume that? You came to YouTube to talk about a screen. Obviously, they got wind that you had a husband, ex-boyfriend, whatever, by the name of Andy. So people put 2 and 2 together, assuming that's the Andy that Boy H was speaking of. So why is it now he's making up stuff? He's making up names. It's not this Andy, it's that Andy. Well, we don't really know which Andy he was speaking of. So most people are probably just assuming, like I said, that it's the Andy from that area, near the Wells. Why would they not? And this interview was done months ago. He didn't elaborate on the person. He didn't say, yeah, it's the next door neighbor. It's the guy across the street. It's the guy around the corner. He didn't go into all that. So what is the problem now? See, this is the reason why you all shouldn't even be talking about anything. And I really am just like fed up of all these different people. And it ain't been a whole lot of people coming out giving information about the Wells. But when you get 2 or 3 or 4, hell, that's enough when you're talking about a missing kid. We don't know the Wells. We don't know their friends, associates. We don't know the people back there in the Beach Creek community. We don't know all the people they fraternized with. We don't know all the people that they fell out with, didn't fall out with, who liked them, don't like them, land disputes, whatever the hell these people got going on back there, whatever the neighbors got going on back there, we don't know. We don't have any idea. And that's the gist of the story, is that we don't know what is actually going on with these people and all their associates and their neighbors and this and this and that and that. Boy H is a child. Summer is a child. And this is the reason why Candy didn't have any business hanging with this kid, talking to this kid, confiding in this kid. Because now it's the issue of, did Boy H lie about what happened on the 15th? Is he involved in the disappearance of Summer Wells? Why is he mentioning this Andy person? Oh, I believe he's lying and making it up. I think he's using somebody else's name. What difference does it make? Chris Madonna chose to go talk to a fucking kid during an open investigation. He gave up this name. Whoever it is what it is. This is the very reason why nobody should have been talking to Boy H except for law officials, cleared or not cleared. That's the point. I am just like over all these versions and stories and these uploads of nonsense pertaining to the Wells. Don't you all get it? You're not talking about Summer. Nothing pertaining to her. Everything now is about a coworker. Now Boy H is brought back up. Don't you see where this is going? Absolutely nowhere. Just around and around in a damn circle. And it's sad that it's to this point. Because in the end, Boy H is a child. Whether you believe what he said about June 15th, whether you believe he's a good kid, bad kid, whatever your perception of him, in the end, we don't know him. We don't know anything about him. And I don't want to be judging a child because in my eye, he's a child. He's not an adult. And he was put in an adult's position on June 15th. He had no business hanging with her. She had no business calling him, picking him up due to the fact that she and his mother were not on speaking terms allegedly. So she had no business having the child. And that's how I feel about the situation. Yes, everything is hearsay. And that's the point I'm trying to make about this commentary in this live. The why is Boy H now public enemy number one? He's making up stuff. He's making up this Andy name. We don't even know which Andy he was speaking of because he didn't go into details during that interview with Chris Madonna. Now, what else he told Chris Madonna, I don't know. What else was cut out, I don't know. I haven't even gone to see the uncut version of that interview with Chris Madonna. Don't really care to, because in the end, is it going to help me find out where Summer is? Probably not. Just more things to ponder on pertaining to the storyline. And I'm not here to bash this woman, but I didn't like what was said about him to the YouTuber. Because you're acting like you know this boy well. Do you know him well, Jody Sue? I'm just curious. Do you know H? Do you know everybody that hung at the Wells house? All the people they patronized with? Who's telling the truth? Who aided? Because as you see, everybody is now pointing fingers at everybody that's affiliated with the Wells. Neighbors, people who came through, passed through. And like somebody said in the chat, and many people have said this, with all the traffic of people going in and out of the Wells establishment, there's no telling who did what, who knows what, who aided what. And that's a natural assumption that your ex is named Andy, and people would assume that's who Boy H was speaking of. That's a natural assumption. It doesn't mean that it's true. It's just that it's a natural assumption. And the thing you need to understand, since you want to point fingers, that you're trying to figure out why is he pointing out your ex, although he's been abusive to you and your kids, and you shouldn't be defending him. No, the hell you shouldn't. But you're choosing to. Or am I getting that wrong? The point is that Boy H is a child, and whatever he heard, he got it from Candy. I don't believe he made up all that stuff, because the stuff that he was discussing is too elaborate for a 15-year-old to be discussing unless they heard it from an adult. So that means he heard it from his mother and or Candy about whatever the hell was going on at 110 Bench Circle, the comings and goings, the traffic, her getting high, losing her kids, getting drunk, turned up. You just think a 15-year-old made all that up.
No, not that.
No, I don't believe he made all that up. I believe he has been around Candy to know what she's like, seen what she's like. She's talked to him on several occasions during her relationship and courtship with his mother. So he has an idea of who Kandi is. And he doesn't appear to be a dumb kid. And that's my take on Boy H. And at this point, I'm just tired. Because like I said, what else is going to come out? What else is going to be said about the Wells? Who else is going to come out of a cake telling us something about them, who they are, this and that? What you all should focus on is the obvious. The Wells don't have any real friends. To date, almost 7 months in, not one person has come forward as a genuine friend to Kandi and Don Wells. Why is that? Why are there no real friends speaking up on their behalf or even against them as, hey, I'm suspicious, something's not right? Not one person, one half-ass, halfway decent person has come forward to say anything that is helpful and useful as a friend, even as a church member, not even a neighbor. You people are on and off, hot, cold. We don't even know what page you're on. So I don't know, Jody Sue, are you still friends with the Wells? I'm confused because you see, I don't keep up with the he said and she said every day because I don't have that kind of time. And in the end, it's never relevant to the story. Because when you start introducing a lot of people into the storyline, you don't know what to believe, who's aiding who helped, who's covering for somebody. So let's ask this one question. Is Andy, your Andy, their drug dealer, or was their drug dealer? Because in the end, Boy H got that from Kandi or his mother. And that's what you should realize. Is that he didn't wake up one day and pull the name Andy out of a hat. Whoever Andy is. How about that? Whether it's Andy of Kingsport, Andy of Greenville, Andy of Bristol, Tennessee, or Bristol, Virginia, Andy of North Carolina, somebody told Boy H of an Andy. That's the point. I don't think he made it up. And that's the reason why Boy H should have never been involved with Kandi, period. Hanging around her children, period. And he should not have been an eyewitness to June 15th. Whatever happened. And until I get verification that he is lying and making up stuff, I'm not about to say he's a liar. Because in the end, he's a child. And he was brought into this mess unwillingly. Until you can bring a receipt that he helped this woman do something to her child, covering for her, and harming her child, getting rid of her child, then you need to be quiet and talking about a child. You all are really losing your way pertaining to this case. Everybody now is crying and hooping and hollering and woe is me. You all wouldn't have anything to be crying and moaning about, apologizing for, if you stayed out of this conversation pertaining to the Wells. You people are immersing yourself in a storyline that does not concern you. The story doesn't concern any of you. Whether you're a neighbor or not, this is not your story. This story is about Summer Wells. And if you don't have any viable information that is helpful to law enforcement, then you should be quiet. And running to YouTubers crying and moaning about this and that, this has become a waste of time as well, because we don't know what to believe about what you're saying and what you're accusing somebody else of. That's all I really had to say in this live. I want to thank you all for joining me. If you want to donate to the channel, $BigAngie129 Cash App. I'm just over everything pertaining to this case. It's ugly, it's nasty, it's just uploads of he said, she said, people throwing daggers at each other, when in the end, nobody knows Summer Wells and nobody knows the Wells. And the only thing we know of the Wells is what we've seen via social media and arrest records that people have decided to post on Facebook and or YouTube. But other than that, we don't know these people. What we know of them is not good. But we don't know them, per se. We don't know Boy H, Allie. We don't know these people. We just know what has been introduced onto YouTube. And to some people it looks good, and to some people it looks bad. Everyone's entitled to his or her perception of these said people. But I do not believe in bashing kids. Because in the end, he is a child. And it's not his fault that he got tangled up with Candy. She went and sought him out. And that's how I look at it. And what was seen, unseen, we will probably never know the truth to everything that happened. Whatever relationship he actually had with Candy, we'll probably never get to the truth. And that's the point of the story. This story was built on deception. Deceiving adults who got rid of their child, know of where their child is, and refuse to tell the truth, and now have lost custody of their 3 boys. I don't think there's really much else to decipher from the situation. It was a negative environment in the first place. So what good can come out of something so negative? Because we're not getting to the truth. Just a lot of he said, she said, and throwing daggers. And I do not believe in throwing daggers at kids. It's wrong. And like I said, if you don't have a receipt to something, you should keep your mouth closed. Because we don't really know what that child saw and didn't see. Because we weren't there. We were not there. And I'm telling you, if you people don't stop meddling with those wells, something bad is going to happen to you. Because you don't have any business bothering them, whether we like them or not, whether we think they're guilty of harming their child, selling their child, whatever version you want to believe, leave those people alone. There's a time and a place for everything. Why don't you all let Ellie handle it and let God work it out? Because he's a way maker. How about that? Why don't you let God work it out? Because you don't know what he has in store for this whole case and all the people involved in the case, especially the Wells. He will handle the situation. Not a YouTuber, not a commenter, not some, random bloke wanting to be seen and heard for 5 minutes of YouTube fame. It's time for you all to grow up and go get your ass a life. Because this is what I say about all the busybodies jumping out of cakes and hats. Where were you 6 months ago? Where were you 9 months ago when Summer wasn't missing? Where were you then? How were you living then? How were you making a way to survive and pay your bills before Summer went missing and YouTube went crazy? See, that's the question. Where were you when there was no YouTube fascination, asking for help, needing this and that, running in people's inboxes, emails? Where were you then? You were nowhere. Because you sure as hell wasn't on YouTube. Give it a rest. Give it a rest. Thank you for joining me. You all stay safe. This is Everyday Shenanigans.